Joining me, Jack Berkman, Republican strategist and host of Behind the Curtain with Jack Berkman. Catch him every Saturday night on the Radio America Network and Sunday afternoons at 2 on WMAL in Metro D.C. Also, Richard Fowler, Democratic strategist and host of the nationally syndicated Richard Fowler Show. Download his podcast at fowlershow.com. The debate stage is set, and the top 11 GOP presidential candidates will take the main stage this upcoming Wednesday. A last-minute addition to the big kids table, Carly FIORINA, who got a boost in poll numbers after last month's debate. FIORINA had criticized the Republican National Committee for not giving her enough limelight. All right, Jack, do you think her addition is just for appearances this time?
Well, I think it'll help the party, no question about it. I think she's going to attack Trump on women's issues. I don't think it'll go anywhere, but she's been very skillful and very successful at kind of cornering the market on women's issues. But I'll tell you, Trump is surging on women, both married women and single women. He's doing exceptionally well. Nobody since Reagan in the Republican Party has done as well with women as Trump does. He's also doing well with African Americans. He's bringing new states into the fray. I don't know, Morris. It looks like Trump is surging toward the nomination. Despite what he says, because FIORINA's addition could also set up fireworks between her and Donald Trump. In a Rolling Stone interview, Trump had some choice words about the Hewlett-Packard executive, saying, quote, "Look at that face. Would anyone vote for that? Can you imagine that? The face of our next president." FIORINA later responded with this.
I'm not going to spend a single cycle wondering what Donald Trump means, but maybe, just maybe, I'm getting under his skin a little bit because I am climbing in the polls.
Well, Trump later clarified his statement, saying he was talking about FIORINA's persona, but many didn't buy it. All right, Richard, what do you expect to see on Wednesday between the two?
Well, I think it's going to be a fiery debate overall, Morris. I think every candidate on that stage is going to be gunning for Donald Trump, which I think honestly is a bad idea, because every time you gun for Donald Trump, like he says, you gun for me and your polls go, and that's exactly what's going to happen to a lot of these candidates. What Trump is able to do, whether we like him or not, is he sort of speaks to the quote-unquote silent majority. Same thing we saw during the Richard Nixon era, right, where he sort of says these things that are outlandish and bombastic and almost unbelievable, but people actually agree with him, like when he says, you know, Mexican are rapists and women bleed from other places. Like, there's a group of voters that like that. They're called the silent majority.
Well, one thing, Richard is right in part and wrong in part. I think he's correct in that almost every Republican will attack Trump. Now, I don't think that's smart. If I were advising these candidates, I would advise only top-tier people like Rubio and Jeb Bush and Carson to go after Trump. Bottom-tier people, you should ally yourself with Trump, say favorable things about Trump, try to tie yourself to Trump, so when you Google Trump, you pull up your name. If you're number 10, you don't want to attack Trump. If you're number 2, 3, or 4, you do want to attack Trump.
See, I disagree with that, because I think what you see from the polls is when you do that, when the number ones, when the 2s and 3s attack Trump, right, they end up being 7s and 8s every single time, because what Trump is able to do is, like I said before, and I hate to say it, it's a very cliche term, but he has everybody's Trump card. He's given money to most of the people on the stage, right? He knows where all the bodies are buried. He knows where their funders are, and so it's really hard to attack him without getting attacked back. And
right.
None of these candidates can survive an attack.
You attack him and you step in number 2, because Trump also spent the week locked in a feud with Dr. Ben Carson, second-rated, after the world-renowned surgeon had this to say about Trump's faith.
I realize where my success has come from, and I don't in any way deny my faith in God. And I think that probably is a big differentiator.
Trump responded by calling Carson just an okay doctor. Carson has seen a huge boost in the polls, placing him right behind the Donald. All right, Jack, Trump used to call Carson too nice to attack. Do you think we'll see a different story at this next debate?
No, I don't think Trump will pick on Carson. I think Carson has become the new darling, Morris, of the evangelical Christians, of the evangelical right. He's replaced Santorum. He's replaced Huckabee. We saw all the press Huckabee got this week. I was surprised he could displace the Donald from the news cycle, but he didn't get any bump in the polls. It was largely a bust. I mean, it was kind of silly in Kentucky, doing it to the theme from Rocky III and all of that. Huckabee, I think, is going down the drain. I think so is Santorum. Carson has replaced both of them as this religious darling. Carson could win Iowa, but he doesn't have the money, and he won't raise the money or put together the organization to go the distance, so I don't see him as much of a threat.
Richard, what do you think of his style? It's kind of understated. That could either help or hurt.
That's a style. That's what you need to win a place like Iowa, right? He has this very mild-mannered, really nice guy style, right? When he first started out his campaign, if you look back at it, he started with a big ad buy to introduce himself to the people of Iowa. It's worked successfully. Now, where I disagree with Jack, and if you look at the numbers, he's not doing bad fundraising. He's actually doing pretty good. He's getting these low, he's really sort of mimicking. He's not nowhere close to or will ever be of the caliber of the President of the United States, but he's found a way to tap into these a lot of very small donors giving $10, $20, $50, $100. And that's been very helpful for him.
Obama did. I mean, just like Obama did in 08, and that's a great skill. The issue, though, I agree with you mostly, Richard. The issue is that because Carson doesn't have a national organization, the amount of money...
But you don't need a national organization. You just have to win Iowa.
Well, let's talk about
winning
Trump
Iowa
again.
gives you a national organization. Barack Obama didn't have a national organization when he won Iowa.
But Obama had much more of an organization than Carson had.
Well, I mean, Carson's burn rate, his burn rate is nowhere near the president's burn rate, but I think his burn rate is comparable.
Well, many on the right have come out against Trump, including Louisiana Governor Bobby Jindal. Listen.
Donald Trump is for Donald Trump. He's not for anything. He's not against anything. Issues don't mean anything to him. Policies, ideals are not important to him. He is for Donald. Donald Trump is a narcissist and he's an egomaniac.
Did we forget he's also running for president? Bobby Jindal. He's not the only one who thinks that. Jeb Bush and many other conservatives agree. Jack, if Trump's not a real conservative, then why is he so popular with the right?
Well, Donald Trump, he's a lot like Mitt Romney. Let's face it, he's flip-flopped on a lot of things. But Trump has found a way to tap into the anger of the Republican Party. All of the anger that Republicans have directed at Barack Obama, Trump has marshaled it, and he now has marshaled it into a weapon. The other thing Trump has done, it occurred to me this week, Morris, Trump has taken his greatest weakness, which is his brashness and his abrasiveness, and he has turned it into his greatest strength, which is this fighting of political correctness. It's really just brilliant politics.
Richard, is this going to last, or is it just a summer fling we're all having with Donald Trump?
I think Trump stays around, one, because he has the money to do it, and two, because, a lot of pollsters and prognosticators have indicated that he's going to top out, he's going to run out of voters, but he's really sort of found a way to increase the voting pie. Now, with that being said, he's going to have Trump's number one problem is he lacks a ground game. He can do these barnyard speeches, these big sort of, arenas, but he's going to have to organize on the ground and get voters to the caucus, as the Iowa caucus is all about. Where I disagree with Jack is this idea that he's speaking to the Republican anger. He's not speaking to Republican anger. What Donald Trump is speaking to is the anger of a lot of Caucasian males in this country. Let's be very real. He says that he wants to make America great again, and I think he just wants to make America white again.
If that's the
case,
just saying.
Well, he's got black support. We've seen a lot of African Americans. Those
tremendous.
There's one poll that there's
tremendous African American
No. Let's talk about that. There's one poll by Survey USA, not a reputable poll company whatsoever, who says he's getting 25% of black voters against Hillary Clinton. That poll, I don't think. I think that
Richard,
poll
you have
is
to understand.
completely an outlier.
You know this very well. If Trump could improve Republican support among blacks by only 5%,
that is true, but I don't think he's able to do that. Because when you talk about the real issues affecting African Americans, Trump's on the wrong side.
He's already doing it.
Getting to Hillary Clinton now. She's apologized for using a personal email server while heading the State Department.
That was a mistake. I'm sorry about that. I take responsibility. And I'm trying to be as transparent as I possibly can.
All right, the move comes after months of denying she was at fault. Now her campaign just wants to move on. All right, Richard, is this too little too late? She's been down in the polls as people continue to question her honesty. Can Hillary turn it around?
Well, I think she most definitely can turn around. First off, I think if you look at the polls, all the polls where you talk about, you hear all these pollsters and all these pundits sort of making this argument that, oh, well, her trustworthy numbers are down in the toilet. Those are trustworthy numbers amongst Republicans and amongst independents. This is going to be a base election. Amongst her, wait a minute, Jack.
Too, Richard.
Amongst her base, Hillary Clinton is doing exceptionally well.
Two major polls now show her down in Iowa to Bernie Sanders.
But all the recent Quinnipiac poll, nationwide poll, shows that she beats any of the Republican candidates handedly.
Well, let's talk about a Democrat, because the dip in Clinton's poll numbers keep opening up speculation that Joe Biden will run. Now the vice president says he's looking for the emotional strength and had this to say on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert.
I don't think any man or woman should run for president unless, number one, They know exactly why they would want to be president. And two, they can look at the folks out there and say, I promise you, you have my whole heart, my whole soul, my energy, and my passion to do this. And I'd be lying if I said that I knew I was there.
Jack, you've been predicting Biden will run, but that doesn't sound like a man who's ready to take on a campaign. What do you think now? It sounds like to me somebody just put a gun to his head and say, all right, you've got to run. Is that what he's waiting for?
He sounds like what he is, a conflicted man. I don't think he knows. You have to remember how ambitious, because Biden's such a nice guy, we tend to forget how ferociously ambitious. He's coveted this for 4.5 decades. He ran in '88, lost because of the plagiarism thing. Now that's behind him. I have a good source, Morris, inside the Biden camp who says they don't think Biden will run. The source tells me that Biden wants to run, but there's a universal feeling inside his camp that it's just much too late in terms of organization. Nonetheless, despite that, I stick by my prediction because of looking at Biden's history and his history of ambition. Democrats have to find somebody. You know what the 3 words most closely associated in polling with Hillary Clinton are? Liar, scandal, and dishonest.
Yeah, we've covered that. Well, Richard, some of the latest polls show Biden beating Bernie Sanders. That may not be a surprise. Even the VP hasn't even announced. Do you think he should run?
Well, they'll get to wait to see. We have to wait to see what the vice president's going to do. A healthy primary, just like we're saying on the Republican side, is good for any party. What it does is it increases your voter base. It increases the amount of people coming out. It increases enthusiasm. So healthy primaries are good. And having another candidate in the race on the Democratic side, it could be healthy for the Democratic Party.
All right, before we go, let's circle back to Donald Trump. He's featured in a Mexican soccer commercial intended to galvanize the country's fans for its upcoming match against the U.S.
Our country is in serious trouble. We don't have victories anymore. The American dream is dead.
All right, Jack, do you think Trump meant for his sound bites to be used against the U.S.? It does have a different tone when used by the other side. I know we can hear your dog barking. He liked it.
Oh, my God. Jack Jr. is barking. Apologize for Jack Jr. He's visiting Morris. Well, I'll tell you, I think at this point, anybody who touches on the immigration issue, like Jeb Bush is making the big mistake of playing into it. Bush has defined that territory. The more you talk about it, the more it helps Trump.
Richard, what do you think about that spot?
Well, listen, people will use your sound bites to do the darnest things, Morris, and this is another example of that. But, you know, here's the thing. Donald Trump's rhetoric is so heated and so divisive that it really could impact, you know, not only the Democratic Party, but it could impact America's reputation abroad.
You're right. It's been a fun summer, and it continues to be that way going into fall. Richard Fowler, Democratic strategist, Jack Berkman, Republican strategist, the best political panel on TV. Thanks to you both.
Thanks, Morris. Thank you, Richard.